Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be making this really cute set of overalls. In this video here I'm actually wearing a maxi pad, so that's why I've got that big bulge at the front, so don't stress, yours isn't going to turn out the same, but let's get started. So for this project you're going to need some yarn. You can use one color, two colors, as many colors as you like, and any type of yarn that you like. I'm using this cotton acrylic blend and I'm going to do it in red and black because it matches my Elmo outfit, but you can use whatever you want. It's made to size, so it really doesn't matter. What I'm also going to be doing is doubling my yarn, so I'll be using 2 strands at once. Once again, you don't have to do this, you can just use a single strand. For me, I want these overalls to just be a little bit more chunky. That's why I'm doubling up my yarn. But please just use whatever yarn that you want. If you use a lighter yarn, more stitches, really, until you get it to your size. So let's begin. Hey, just before we get started, I just want to say that the yarn that I chose to use has really trash stitch definition, hey? So it's a bit tricky to really see all of the individual stitches in this, but it's a super easy pattern. It is double crochet, single crochet, and slip stitch. That's all you need to know. So just because you might be going in a little bit blind, I reckon you'll still be able to ace this, and I really do apologize about the colors. Things also got a little bit wacky at the end. It's been a really long week, so I kind of lost my mind, but that's okay. All right, hey, you can do it. Let's get started. All right, so first we're going to make the shorts part of these overalls, and then we will add the rest of the outfit onto the shorts. So to start with the shorts, we're going to make a slip knot, and then you're going to make some chains. I'm going to chain 8, but you want to make the amount of chains for the height that you want your waistband to be. So because I'm using a thicker yarn and because I like a thicker waistband, I'm going to chain 8. So once you've got the height of your waistband that you want, you're going to go ahead and chain 2 more. And then we're going to do a double crochet into the 3rd chain from the hook. So yarn over, insert your hook into that 3rd chain, yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops that are on your hook, yarn over and pull through the last 2. Now we're going to repeat the same thing into each chain all the way down until we get to the bottom of our waistband. So 1 double crochet into each chain all the way down. I will meet you at the bottom. Okay, once you are at the bottom of your waistband, go ahead and count your stitches. Make sure that you have the amount that you wanted. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. We're going to go ahead and chain 3, turn our work, and then into the next stitch we're going to do a double crochet into the back loop only. So if this is your first time doing a back loop only double crochet, it's a little bit tricky to see with this color, but on the side of your work each of your stitches will have a V like that. The V has 2 sides to it. The side closest to you is the front loop. The side away from you is the back loop. So we want to just be working into that back loop only, all the way back up to the top. So yarn over, insert your hook into that back loop of the next stitch, yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through the last 2. Doing the same into the next one, so yarn over, insert your hook into that back loop only, yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops that are on the hook, yarn over and pull through the last 2. So we just want to be doing 1 double crochet into the back loop only of each stitch until we get back up to the top, and I will meet you there. Alrighty, once you are back down the bottom, go ahead and count your stitches again. Just remembering that chain 3 at the beginning counts as a double crochet. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hopefully you've got the same amount that you chose for your waistband. Now we're going to chain 3, turn our work into the next stitch. We're going to put a double crochet into the back loop only. So we're doing the exact same thing that we did on the last round. 1 double crochet into the back loop only of each stitch, and we're just going to repeat this over and over again. So once you get to the end, go ahead and chain 3, turn your work, and then put a double crochet into the back loop only of each stitch all the way back down. Repeat, repeat, repeat until you have a waistband that fits comfortably over your hips and fits on your waist. Once you have got your waistband complete, I will meet you back here for the next step. Okay, so once you have your beautiful ribbed waistband made to a size that will fit over your hips and snugly on your waist, what we're going to do is just join the 2 ends together. So take both of the ends, make sure there's no twists in the waistband, place the ends together like so. And with your yarn still connected, you're going to go into the first or underneath the first stitch of the working side, and then underneath the first stitch of the other side of the waistband. Then you're going to join with a slip stitch. So pull through both of those ends and pull through the loop that's on your hook. Now we go into the second stitch of each side and slip stitch those together. Into the third stitch of each side, slip stitch those together, and we're just going to slip stitch through each of the stitches on both sides until we get down to the bottom of our piece. And in here, so now what we want to do is we want to make a border of single crochets along the bottom of this waistband so that we can start to build our shorts off that foundation. So unfortunately we're working into the row ends of this. There's no actual stitches for us to work into. As you can see, you've got the post of each of these double crochets all along here. So that's what we're going to be working into. You've got one post here where it's bumped out on the back of the piece, one post here where it's bumped out on the front of the piece. So we want to be working 2 single crochets into each of those double crochet posts. So into this first one here, I'm going to insert my hook, pull through a loop and pull through both loops on my hook, and then into that same space I'm going to put another single crochet. Okay, into this next space under that post I'm going to put 2 single crochets, and then underneath the next post another 2 single crochets, and I'm just going to be putting 2 single crochets into each post space all around my work until I get back to the join, and I will meet you there. Alrighty, so once you have put 2 single crochets into each row end and you've come back to your join or your seam, you just want to slip stitch into the first single crochet just there. Now what we need to go ahead and do is to count every stitch that we just made and get a total of the stitches. So go ahead and count your stitches and I'll meet you back here. Okay, once you have your stitch markers in their place, we're going to go ahead and start the next round. So for this round, I'm going to change my color to black. If you're changing colors, now would be a good time to change to get that stripy effect. If you're going all the one color, or if you have a different plan, that's totally fine. You do you. But no matter what color you're using, we're going to go ahead and chain 3. Turn our work. And then we're simply going to go ahead into the next stitch and put a double crochet. And then we're going to be putting a double crochet into every stitch around. Let me find it. Into every stitch around until we get to our first stitch marker. So go ahead and put a double crochet into every stitch around until you get to the first stitch marker, and I will meet you there once I've sorted out these ends. I guess when you're using double yarn, it just means you've got so many more ends to deal with, and I'm not an octopus, but we will get there. Alrighty, so once you arrive at your first stitch marker, you're going to remove that stitch marker. And then we're going to do an increase into that stitch. So we're going to put 3 double crochets right into that one stitch. Then we're going to find our center stitch of that cluster, pop our stitch marker back in there for next time. Now we'll just keep going around doing 1 double crochet into each stitch until we reach that second stitch marker. Once we reach that second stitch marker, we're going to go ahead and put 3 double crochets all into that one stitch there, and then continue around with 1 double crochet into each stitch until you come back to your seam, and I will meet you at the end of this round back at the seam. Alrighty, so I've come back to my seam. I've got 1 increase of 3 double crochets here, 1 increase of 3 double crochets here. So once you get back to the start of the round, you just want to slip stitch into the top of that chain 3 that you made in the beginning. And then you're going to chain 3, turn your work, and for this round we're just going to go ahead and put 1 double crochet into each stitch. So no increases this round. 1 double crochet into each stitch until you get back to the seam, and I will meet you at the seam. Just a hot tip that I forgot to mention, as you are going around and putting 1 double crochet into each stitch on this round, as you get to your stitch marker, you may want to move your stitch marker up as you put a stitch into that one, just so for the next round you know exactly where you need to be increasing. So I will put my double crochet into that stitch, and then I will put my stitch marker back in there so I know where I'm increasing next round. Okay, see you at the end. Alrighty, so once you've come back to the last stitch before the seam, you're just going to slip stitch into the top of the chain 3 from the beginning of the round. Then you're going to chain 3, turn your work. Oh, I've made a mess out of that. Excuse me. Chain 3, turn your work, and this round you're going to do 1 double crochet into each stitch until you reach your stitch marker, and then you're going to put 3 double crochets into that stitch, and then 1 double crochet all the way around until you reach your second stitch marker, and you're going to put 3 double crochet in there. And we're just going to continue this sequence. So 1 round that has the increases in the hip area, and then 1 round with no increases, so just 1 double crochet into each stitch for the whole round. And then the next round with the increases for the hip area, the next round no increases, just 1 double crochet into each stitch. And I want you to continue doing these rounds, alternating these rounds until you get your full hip measurement. And I'm going to put up a picture on the screen of what I mean by your full hip measurement. And once you get to that part of your body, you can stop and I will meet you there and we can figure out what to do next. Okay. Alrighty, so once you have crocheted alternate rounds, 1 with the increase at the hips, 1 just standard, you can go ahead and remove your stitch markers. And what we need to do now is count every stitch that we have in this last row. Once you have counted your stitches, go ahead and divide that by 2. So for me, I have 100 stitches exactly all the way around. So if I divide that by 2, that's going to be 50. So from my join here, I'm going to count 50 stitches, and that will leave me right here. So I'm going to mark that center stitch with a stitch marker. Okay. Now what we want to do is just continue around and around and around doing standard rounds. What that means is 1 double crochet into each stitch all the way around. And we want to do this until we get to our crotch area. I'm going to put up a picture of what I mean when I say crotch area, because it's not the gap between your thighs. If you crochet to the gap between your thighs, what you're going to do is actually end up with this scrunching and bunching at the front of your work, and it's going to look like you have a front bum. So you want to stop just a little bit higher. It's kind of the point where the pelvic bone meets, you know, all those other parts. All of your lady or man parts. Oh, maybe on a man it'd be different. Anyway, I will put up a picture and show you where the point to stop is. And then if you can just go ahead and double crochet into each stitch and continue those rounds until you get to that point, and then we will start to form the shorts. Okay, so once you've got your shorts section down to your crotch area, it's time to split the shorts into 2. So we're going to make a chain that will reach from the back of the shorts that we're on to the front of the shorts here, essentially forming the crotch. This might be better to chain whilst you're trying them on, and have that chain at full stretch. You can also measure the distance between to get how many chains you need to chain, but essentially we want to go ahead and make some chains. I'm going to chain 4, that's all that I need. I want these to be super tight, so I've chained 4, and then we want to slip stitch right into our marked stitch, which is the center. Now, as you are going along, if you weren't moving your stitch marker up, because I didn't mention it, I'm sorry, but if you haven't moved your stitch marker up and it's somewhere down here still, maybe take the time to go ahead and count all of your stitches and mark the center stitch just to make sure that you are actually going into the center. But once you've made your chain, slip stitch into that center stitch there. And then we're going to be working one leg at a time. So I'm going to start on this leg. I'm going to chain one, turn my work, and then just start with a round of half double crochet all the way, double crochet all the way around this leg. And once I get to the chain, I'll just be working into one side of those chains with a double crochet. So I will meet you when we get to the chained crotch area. Okie dokie, so I am just coming up to my crotch chain after putting in one double crochet into each stitch. And when it comes to the crotch chain, I'm really just going to do the same thing. So into that first chain just there, whoops-a-daisy, I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook through that chain, pull through a loop, and do a double crochet. So essentially on here we're going to do a double crochet into each chain, and then when we get through the last chain we're just going to go ahead and slip stitch into that first double crochet of that round. And that's it. We have a leg. So from here you want to chain 3, turn your work and go back around the leg for another round and just continue the rounds until you've got the length of the leg that you want, really. If you want your shorts nice and cheeky, you might not need too many rounds. If you want your shorts a little bit more modest, you can do more rounds to make the leg of those shorts longer. So I've got all this fluff on it. So look, if you're the type of girl who is blessed with beautiful chunky thighs and you're finding this leg is actually a little bit too tight for your thighs, you can also add increases just like we did up here on every second row. Also just pop it here and here, and that should make some space for those lovely thighs. Alright, so I'm going to keep going and doing my rounds, and when I am finished this leg I will meet you. Alrighty, so I have just finished one leg to the length that I wanted. It sits just on the end of my bum cheek and I'm happy with that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my yarn, but if you wanted to finish your legs with some detail, you could even just finish with a round of single crochet to tidy it up, or you could do some ruffles or some shells. I don't want to do any of that because I'll mess up my color combination and the spacing, so I'm going to cut my yarn, fasten off, and then I'm going to reattach my yarn back into the center stitch of the shorts body. So where we had that stitch marker earlier, you want to reattach your yarn back into there. Yep. And then you can remove that stitch marker if you like. And same thing. So I'll be working this way, which means I need to reattach my yarn. Sorry, don't mind me. I'll be working this way, and it's the same thing. We're just going to do a double crochet into each stitch until we get to our crotch chains, which aren't going to be crotch chains anymore. because we've got the double crochet on this side in there. So we just want to work into the back loop of these chains, not into the top loop of the double crochet. Work into the back loop of the chains in that area, and just do the same amount of rounds of double crochets. I'm having a struggle here, but do the same amount of rounds of double crochet as you did in the last leg, unless obviously you want them uneven, then mix it up. But once you've finished that, then we've finished the part of the shorts for these overalls, and we will move on to making the top for the overalls, and I will see you there. Alrighty guys, once you have finished both legs on your shorts and you fastened off your yarn and weaved in your ends, first of all, give yourself a big pat on the back. That's pretty cool that you've just made a pair of shorts. But we're going to go one step further and turn these shorts into some overalls. So from here on, we're going to work from the waistband of the shorts up to make our overalls. So I am going to just do the next round in my black yarn. Try not to pay too much attention to my color changes unless you're wanting to do the exact same thing. Really doesn't matter what color you use, but what we're going to do is single crochet round all the way around, and I want that to have a black border. That's why I'm using black. So what we're going to do on the top of the waistband here is the exact same thing that we did down the bottom, and that is putting 2 single crochets onto each double crochet post space. So pop your hook in and underneath the first double crochet post on the band, pull through a loop and pull through both loops on your hook, so that's 1 single crochet. And then go ahead and pop another one in there, and then move on to the next double crochet post, which is here, and go ahead and pop 2 single crochets in there. And we're just going to repeat all around, putting 2 single crochets into each double crochet post until we get back to where we started, and I will meet you there. And then you want to go around and count all of the stitches that you've just made, and you want to divide that total by 4. All right? Once you've divided it by 4, go ahead and count that number, that total, from your seam at the back. Count that number of stitches and mark it with a stitch marker on one side. Count that number of stitches and mark it with a stitch marker on the other. So the exact same thing that we did down here in order to flare for the hips. This is where we are going to be starting our front bib. So once you've got those marked, we're going to fasten off. We need to be starting over here for our bib. So fasten off, cut your yarn, and then we're going to reattach our yarn into the first stitch marked stitch. Now I'm going to be going back to red. Apologies if it gets a little bit confusing, but that's my color scheme. So once you've attached your yarn into the marked stitch, you can remove that stitch marker, and all that we're going to do is a row of double crochets, 1 in each stitch, all along the front of this waistband. So the back is where we made the seam, this is the front. So 1 double crochet in each stitch until we reach the marked stitch on the other side of the waistband. Alright, and when you come to that next marked stitch, go ahead and put a double crochet in there. You can remove your stitch marker now. Whoops. And then what we're going to do is chain 1, turn our work, and for this next round we're going to begin with a double crochet 2 together. So we yarn over, insert our hook into that first loop, yarn over, pull through a loop, and then we yarn over, insert our hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through a loop. Okay, so we should have 5 loops on our hook now. Then we yarn over and pull through the first 2, and then yarn over and pull through all of them. Now, if it helps you, you can go ahead and mark that stitch there. And to continue the rest, we are just going to put 1 double crochet into each stitch along until we have 2 stitches remaining. So here, and I will meet you there. Alrighty, so once you meet the other end and you have 2 stitches remaining, we're going to do another double crochet 2 together. So yarn over, insert your hook into the first stitch, yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over again, insert your hook into the second stitch, yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over and pull through all remaining stitches, loops on your hook. Chain 1, turn our work, and we're going to do the same thing. So a double crochet 2 together into these first 2 stitches. So yarn over, insert, pull through a loop, yarn over, insert, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through all of them. Now from here we're going to do just 1 double crochet into each stitch until we reach the other side. Okay, so once you are at the other end and you have 2 stitches left, go ahead and double crochet 2 together, and then chain 3. Turn your work, and from here on in we're just going to do 1 double crochet into each stitch till the end, chain 3. So the chain 3 will count as our first double crochet from now on. Chain 3, turn your work, and just keep repeating these rows of double crochet 1 in each stitch until your overalls reach where you want them, which is generally on the collarbone, yeah? But if you want your overalls to be higher on the neck or lower, say under the breast, just keep doing rows of 1 double crochet in each stitch until your overalls reach your desired height. And once you are there, I will meet you there. Alright, legends, so once you have finished your front panel and it's to a height that you are happy with, the next step is a recommendation. You don't have to do it, but I do recommend that we go all the way around the piece with just a round of single crochets, just to tidy up the edges and make everything look a little bit more uniform. So you can do that. If you don't want to do that, if you're just like, oh my god, I just want to get this finished and I just want to wear this, then you do you, you know. But I'm going to go ahead and do that border, and I'm going to do that in black. So I'm going to cut my yarn and I'm going to reattach my black yarn, but you know, if you just want to do the same color or whatever your plan is, you work with that. But I'm going to do that border in black, so I'm going to reattach here. And then we're just going to go around and make a border of single crochets. So first, working down the side, of the project. So here's the shorts. This is the side of that front panel. We're going to be working into the row ends again on this side. So whenever we're working into these double crochet row ends, we want to put 2 single crochet into each stitch. So I'm going to go into the first underneath that first double crochet post there, and I'm going to pop 2 single crochet in, and then into the next, underneath that next double crochet post, I'm going to pop 2 single crochet in, and I'm just going to do this until I get down to where my front panel meets the waistband of my shorts, and I'll meet you there. Alright guys, I think I just had a little bit of a blooper with my camera and I pressed the pause button instead of record or something. But anyway, I have done 2 single crochets into every row end, all the way down to where my front panel meets the waistband of the shorts. And now I've just started single crocheting into that round of single crochets we did to hem off those shorts earlier. So now, because for this part we're actually working into the tops of the stitches, we only need to be putting 1 single crochet into each stitch. Alright, so you want to put 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way along until you get back to here where you join up to your front panel again. Once you get there, you need to be putting 2 single crochets into every row end again. Alright, and do that until you get to the corner up here, and I will meet you at the corner. Alrighty, so once you get up to this top corner of your front panel, into the corner stitch just here, which is the first double crochet post of this top row, we're going to go ahead and put 3 single crochet into that one stitch. But we're going to go into the space between the posts, so not the top of the stitch. We're going to go in this post space, if that makes sense. So we go in with 1, in with 2, and in with 3. And that's just going to give us a little bit of a rounded corner to finish off the top of our piece. Now, as we go along working into the tops of these stitches, we will put 1 single crochet into each stitch. Once we get over to this side, we've already put 2 single crochets into this double crochet post, so we're just going to go ahead and put 1 more into that side because we started here. So if that doesn't make sense, just do a single crochet in each. Honestly, it really doesn't matter. I am sure you have made something epic that looks epic, and whatever you do can't ruin that. But once you finish this top section, that's about it, guys. All we've got to do is make the straps that are going to go from the back to the top of this. We're going to sew on a couple of buttons, and hey, we are all done. So you are nearly there. Hang in there. I will meet you at the end of this top row. Alrighty guys, I am back at this corner. I've just put 1 more single crochet into where I started, and then I'm just going to go ahead and slip stitch into the first stitch there. This is where I'm going to finish. I'm going to go ahead and cut my yarn and move on to making the straps for the back. But if you feel, probably a really good time to try this on before you cut your yarn. Hold it up if you feel like you need a little bit more coverage. Then you can just keep going round after round. Alrighty guys, once you have done that edging on your panel if you chose to do it, and that panel is all finished. It's time to go ahead and make the straps. I've gone ahead and made the first strap without you guys because I'm impatient and I did it in my lunch break, but it's super easy and we can make the second one together. So what we're really going to do is just rows of double crochets. We're going to pop a button on the end there, and the button will be used to fasten our overalls to the front panel. Super easy. If you don't want to use a button, then you can simply crochet all the way to the top and then join the two pieces together. You can use snap fasteners, you can use Velcro, you can use ribbon, whatever you like, but I'm using a button. I found these the other day in my craft store and they're just absolutely perfect for my Elmo piece. So anyway, let's get started. So we're going to be working our straps into this back row, and you need to figure out where you want your straps and how thick you want your straps. So I've decided that I want my straps 6 stitches out from the seam. So here's my seam, and I've gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I've made my straps 6 stitches wide, but bear in mind I am double yarning an already chunky yarn, so you might need to do more if you're using a lighter yarn. So go ahead and figure out where you want your straps to sit. I'm going to find my hook and attach your yarn into that space. Now what we're going to do is 1 double crochet into that first stitch, 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and just double crochet into as many stitches as you want the width of your straps to be. So I'm going to go 6. Alrighty, once you have your width there, you want to go ahead and chain 3. This will count as your first double crochet. Turn your work and then into the next stitch, pop a double crochet and double crochet into each stitch. Once you get to the last stitch, you want to chain 3, which will count as your first double crochet, and then go ahead and pop a double crochet into every stitch, and just repeat this row over and over and over again until you get to a length that's going to come from the bum here over your shoulders and attach to the front panel. If you want to make it a crisscross back, you can totally do that. You might just need to add a couple of extra rows to make it a crisscross, but you know, just keep going, try it on as you go. Once you've got a good length, I'll meet you back here. Alrighty, I have finished my second strap. It's also just turned peak hour outside, so it's going to be pretty noisy. Sorry about that. But I've just finished my second strap, so I did 30 rows of double crochet on this one, so I did 30 rows of double crochet on this one as well. Try to keep it even if possible. Now what I did do on this one, you really can't see that at all, can you? Sorry. Anyway, as I was going along, I got really impatient, as I always do towards the end of a project, and a few of my rows were becoming uneven, so bulging out this way. So what I've done is I've done a border of single crochet all the way down this piece, and that's going to help secure it as well. So this one I was a lot better. I kept all of my rows neat, but I'm going to add a border of single crochet on this one as well. So if your rows are looking a bit how you going, or if you just want to reinforce it with a border, then let's go ahead and do that. If you don't want a border, then just skip this part. Sorry, excuse me. Oh dear. If you don't want a border there, that's better. If you don't want a border, then go ahead and skip this part and I will meet you at the next part. Right, so for the border we're going to chain 1, turn our work, single crochet into the next stitch, single crochet all the way along into every stitch along that top edge there. All right, now we're getting into the row ends again. Sorry, it's been a long day. Now we're getting into the row ends again, so we're going to put 2 single crochet into each row end. So 1 and 2. And just carry on putting 2 single crochet into each row end until you get down to where this strap connects back down to the pants, and I will meet you there. Alrighty, so I am coming down to where my band strap meets my shorts. So I've just done 2 single crochet into that last double crochet post, and then I'm going to go into the stitch that that double crochet post goes into. See this one here? I'm going to do a single crochet in there to connect it, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the next stitch along the waistband. And that's it. You can do one up the other side if you like. Slip stitch across here and continue back up the other side. I don't want to do that. I want to get these finished. And what it does, it just provides that little bit of detail as well. I'm not sure you can see. It's such a terrible color. I am so sorry. It just really helps tidy that up a little bit. All right. Let's put it all together. So if you are choosing to go the button route, you're going to need some buttons, and you're going to need a needle and some thread. If you're not choosing to go the button route, if you're just going to sew it directly, then bring the outside of the strap to the inside of your front panel. We're nearly finished. My brain is dying on me. But bring the outer edge of your strap to the inner edge of your front panel and just go ahead and slip stitch those stitches together. But if you want to use buttons, then you need a button, and you need your button to be big enough that it can go through between the posts of the double crochet, and not slip out. So it needs to be small enough. Oh my goodness. All right, look at this. So it needs to be small enough so that it can go through the gap between the 2 double crochet posts like that. But it needs to be big enough that it's not going to slip back between those posts and fall off, if that makes sense. Right, So when we're stitching on our buttons, we want to stitch it onto the outside of the strap, because once our strap comes around over our shoulder, that button's going to be on the inside of our front panel. And then once it comes through those stitches on the front, then the button will be facing the front of the work. Does that make sense? So grab your button. I'm choosing, because I have 6 stitches here, I'm going to sew my button onto those middle 2 stitches. You can't see anything. I will never make a tutorial in black again, maybe. But I'm going to stitch my button around those 2 double crochet posts there. You can choose where you want to put yours. Now guys, I lay no claims to being a professional button stitcher. Honestly, my go-to is just go around and around and around and around until your needle doesn't let you go around anymore, and then that should be tight enough. But I'm sure there are some really great tutorials on YouTube that can show you how to stitch a button on professionally. You're welcome to go ahead and watch those if you like. Me, I'm just gonna stitch until it won't fall off. But go ahead, attach your buttons, weave in your ends, and then you'll be just about finished. All right, legends, we have done it. That is our overalls complete. Give yourself a massive pat on the back. Hopefully your overalls worked out well and you're really happy with the result. You can go ahead and just get creative now if you want. You can add an applique on the front or add some patterning. Make it your own, really. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and make a big pocket, but it's going to be a pocket that can be folded down. And underneath the pocket, I'm going to have a hidden message written, but it's a little bit obscene, so I won't put it on YouTube. But if you want to see the final result of my Evil Elmo outfit, then pop on over to my Instagram and check that one out. So look, thanks so much for joining me. I do apologize about the clarity with the stitches. Hopefully you've still managed to get your way through it, even though you really couldn't see too much. Yeah, guys, if you make something awesome, I'd love to see it. Please tag me on Instagram. It's Hazy Maisie Creations. If you decide to make these and sell these, that's awesome. If you could just give me a little bit of a tag somewhere to direct people back to this video so that we can all benefit from it, that would be great as well. If you appreciate the time and the effort that I've put into this and would like to financially tip me, then my Ko-fi link is down below. So I'll link everything down below, but pretty much you just being here, you making it to the end, and you making an awesome set of overalls, that's enough to warm my little heart for today. So thank you so much. I'll see you for the next creation. Bye!